So the Lexus ISF is a hell of a car. When it was introduced in 2009, it was a pretty great sports sedan, and in fact, I own one. My wife drives it, and even by today's standard, it's still a really great car, really nice. It's a good balance of performance, handling, fuel economy, and refinement. Now, the ISF needs a little bit of work to get it to that point. The car has kind of a psychotic personality. You know, it has a killer engine, but it has the quiet and niceness of a Lexus. But from the factory, the suspension is really crazy stiff, so it has a harsh, jarring ride, especially like the older ones. And if you've owned one of these cars, you know that these things have a propensity to eat tires like crazy. I mean, we've worn out a set of summer high performance radials in one of these in 7,000 miles with the factory alignment. And even if we're going with 300 treadwear tires, maybe they last 15,000. And with the size of tires this guy has, like 19-inch, they're pretty expensive. And we did a lot of things just to address the tire wear. So even though these are performance enhancing mods, I kind of think the most important things are for your average street ISF owner is to get better tire wear and a smoother ride while still enhancing the performance. So we did a bunch of things with the help of Figs Engineering, Sikky Manufacturing, and KW Suspension to make this Lexus cool, refined, and streetable. Also, better handling. Let's go take a look. So if you own an ISF, especially one that was made before 2012, you know about how rough these things ride. It's pretty amazing. The ride quality does not match the character of the car. I mean, literally, it's like a GTR on sport mode. I mean, it's pretty darn rough. Toyota, like in 2012, kind of changed the calibration and made it a little softer, but you know, it's still pretty harsh. I kind of feel that Toyota put a lot of high-speed compression into the valving to give it that rough, sporty feel, but got a little carried away. So in my opinion, you need to get rid of some of that high-speed compression and give it more low speed and more of a digressive curve. This can get you better control and a much better ride. So we installed KW Variant 3 coilovers to kind of cure this. Now the KW is one of my favorite brand of coilovers, especially for higher end street applications. What I like about it is it has independently adjustable compression and rebound damping. To me, this is pretty important to really dial in your car, which could have quite a variety of different tires, for instance, different sway bars. It enables you to like tailor your damping to how your car is. And I think you can get everything pretty refined with a double adjustable shock. The KWs also have a limited lifetime warranty. They have a stainless steel inox body that resists corrosion, so you don't have to worry about your coilover collars seizing up. The coilover collars themselves are stainless steel, but they're covered in like a thermoplastic to make sure that they stay free operating. I know a lot of you have had coilovers where the collars rust onto the body and it's almost impossible to adjust them after that, but KWs will be adjustable and everything will be cool, even if you like live on the East Coast with salted roads and stuff. KWs also have some remote reservoirs. This is to give extra gas volume. It's more to keep the shock quiet than like a performance thing like some remote reservoirs. They give a place to put the compression valves for a three-way adjustable, for instance, and enable a super short body. But on the V3s, the remote reservoir is mostly for some like extra cooling capacity and extra gas capacity to make a quieter shock, so the valves won't make as much of a like squishing or squeaking noise that some shocks get. Um, so you also have a tender and the mainspring, and it's overall like a really high quality shock. I have these on my personal ISF, and I can tell you that the ride is a lot better than stock. Well, I didn't give up any kind of performance. In fact, it's better platform control and better steering response. The spring rates are about 15% stiffer than stock, so it's still pretty, street and performance oriented. It's not so much a track damper. Um, Overall, it's a really great shock for high performance street. Figs Engineering also makes a nice Owens-based coilover that's specifically for the ISF. We wanted to give those a try, but Figs was on back order, and we wanted to get this car turned around quicker, so we went to the tried and true KWs. But the Figs Owens would be really nice. So the ISF does have a psychotic personality. Even though the factory shocks are valved so it feels like a race car, for some reason the engineers put really soft bushings in the suspension. Now the rear bushings are super soft, mushy rubber, probably softer than your typical, even moderate performance sedan. So what this allows is a bunch of deflection, particularly in tow. So these cars like tow in and out in the rear by probably over half an inch, even with moderate braking and acceleration. What this does is it causes very rapid tire wear. Now, with my wife driving, and she's no hoon, we've worn out summer high-performance radials in as little as 7,000 miles, believe it or not. And even when we tried to do a non-aggressive, less aggressive than the factory alignment, just to make the tires last longer, tires generally only lasted 10 to 12,000 miles. And, that was ridiculous. So what Figs Engineering has done is something that could satisfy both people interested in tire wear and performance. Now they came out with some adjustable links and a lower control arm, which enables you to do a very precise alignment. You can do one for good tire wear, or you could do one for aggressive performance. Now we did one for better tire wear, so we set it at 1.5 inch negative camber and about 1/8 inch toe in. And we did not use all the spherical bearings like what Figs has on this car. Figs also makes some urethane bush adjustable arms, which are pretty good if you're probably more interested in a softer ride. But in this case, we went full spherical. So the arms are all adjustable, spherical bearings. Figs also makes spherical bearings to replace the gushy rubber in the rear knuckle. This is all very precise for maximum performance. My personal car doesn't have all these. I just have spherical bearings in my lower control arm, and I'm not aligning very radically, so I'm running the less aggressive upper arms too. Although the spherical bearings sound really aggressive, the subframe rides in rubber bushings, so it's really not that bad. And actually, the ride could be even a little smoother than stock because there's less stiction in the spherical, so the suspension's freer to move. With our more conservative alignment, typically our tires last like 25,000 now, or even we had one set that lasted almost 30. So by getting the Fig stuff, we're able to double our tire life, which was a pretty big deal because it was annoying changing tires with every other oil change. All the gushy rubber also leads to imprecise handling, so the car would have like kind of a vague feel. It's still handled pretty good, but when you firm everything up with either urethane or bearings, the back of the car is much more precise and more confidence inspiring when you drive. We're also putting a Sikky rear anti-sway bar. It's bigger diameter than stock, like a couple millimeters. It doesn't sound like much, but that's still almost 100% increase in stiffness. It's also three-way adjustable, so you can fine-tune your roll stiffness and your understeer oversteer balance. Also gets rid of some body roll without causing any deterioration in the ride. So it's a good addition. So any of you that have an ISF, I would consider these mods just for the improvement in tire life alone. It'll pay for itself really quick. If you have another IS, they don't kill the tires quite as much because they don't have all the power and torque, but they still wear things fairly fast, and the improvement in handling is always worth it too. Another mod we performed is we replaced the rear differential bearings with these Figs Engineering polyurethane ones. The stock bushings tend to get chewed up. The polyurethane ones last a lot longer. There's less deflection, so your diff moves around a lot less, so it's easier on your pinion bearing and on your drive shaft. And these are firmer, probably help eliminate wheel hop, and they also don't increase MVH nearly at all. Like, you can barely tell that they're in there. So it's a good addition while everything's out. It's a good addition to replace those too. So in the front, we replaced the stock anti-sway bar with a Sikky three-way adjustable one. It's 1 millimeter bigger than stock, and it has 3 adjustment points. If you're in the forwardmost point, you're about 75% stiffer than stock. The rear point, you're slightly softer than stock. So this is a worthy addition to balance the car. I know in my own personal experience, I couldn't believe how neutral I could get the car. So these 2 bushings are something that any ISF owner should just automatically do. I don't care if you're a performance driver or you just have a stock ISF. These just about cure the ISF's propensity to eat front tires. It's a billet carrier with a urethane rear bushing and a urethane front bushing. Now the stock bushing back here is a big, super gushy, liquid-filled bushing that's super, super soft. Now, why Toyota would put anything like that on a performance-oriented sedan is beyond me, but hey, they did. Not only is it super soft, but being liquid-filled, like most of you guys that have these things, they're like at least 10 to 15-year-old cars. So most of you have had the leak spring and have all your fluid leak out, so it makes it even gushier and more imprecise. What happens is, even if your bushings are in good condition, the liquid-filled bushing is so sloppy that even under normal braking, your suspension toes out like maybe a ½ inch. So this continual toe out stuff under braking totally eats the front tires. I mean, we've ruined so many sets of front tires, even with super, super conservative alignment. Like, we tried zero toe and zero camber, and we still chewed up the front tires. And like every other oil change, a new set of tires, and with 19-inch wheels, that gets old. It also causes more of this psychotic dual mode, really rough riding, but kind of mushy responding feel that these cars can have stock. Literally, when you change these bushings, it transforms the car. The car is much more stable under braking. Your steering feel is greatly, greatly improved. Your turn-in response and your response in general is much, much better. These things like really transform the car and make it feel like crisp and like a sports car. So even if you have a bone stock IS or ISF, I recommend that you change these if for tire wear, if anything. It's like a mandatory mod, and until Figs came out with this, eating tires like crazy, and it almost made me want to sell the car, even though I like most other things about it. But these really saved the day, and I mean, I'm not being paid to say it, but you know, even me gets sick of wearing out tires, and it transforms the feel too. If you're going to do one thing, this would be it. Another trick in getting the tires to last on the ISF is to be able to adjust the camber accurately. So the Fig Engineering upper control arm has a spherical bearing that you can screw in and out and adjust that camber perfectly. It also has urethane bushings for less compliance, give you a more direct coupled ride, and to keep the alignment more true under load. My opinion, it's not absolutely necessary unless you're a serious performance guy, but in the case of you being a performance guy, maybe you want to do track days. In that case, this is a essential part to get for your ISF. This way you can dial in more negative camber. You know, like even for tire wear, the less everything moves on this car, the better. It'll also improve tire wear depending on how you adjust it. But this is a great addition. These suspension parts will really improve how the IS, and particularly the ISF, handles, feels, and wears the tires out. Now, with all these parts in there, even though this is a 16 to 8-year-old car, it'll make this thing on par or better than any modern sports sedan in the handling department. I mean, even mine, when I drive it, it puts a smile on my face about just how good this car is. So if you have an IS or an ISF that you love and you want to bring it up to snuff, Figs Engineering, KW, and Sikky Manufacturing makes all the parts, and they'll bring it up to the latest standards and the stickiest tires and not even mess up your ride. So I really think that these are worthy additions to this car. Now, another thing that really pisses me off about the ISF is the stock brake pads. Now, I don't know what Toyota was thinking, but they put some crazy aggressive brake pads in the car from the factory. Now, the ISF has pretty much state-of-the-art brakes, like 6-piston Brembos in the front and 2-piston Brembos in the rear. Plenty enough brakes to stop this car, but I think they put something that must be pretty close to a full race set of brake pads in these. Our first set of rotors lasted 10,000 miles, and then we're wearing out our second set of pads and rotors in another 10,000 miles, and this wasn't going to fly. The other thing is the extreme amount of nasty black corrosive brake dust that these rotors and pads would create. Like, I would wash the car, drive about a mile to get the water off the car, and the car would be covered with brake dust in just that short amount of time. You know, like in one week, the wheels would be completely black, and the sides of the car would be black from brake dust. And the brake dust was a nasty, black, sticky stuff that, even though I washed the wheels every week, was eating into the powder coat, and it was even stripping the wax off the side of the car. And I don't know, I was pretty pissed off about that. Performance or not, it was no good. Also, the pads would chew up the stock rotors and literally wear grooves into them and just eat them up. So I was having to change, you know, rotors like every 3 oil changes, and that was ridiculous. So then I got a set of Figs Engineering rotors and pads, and it totally cured everything. Now the rotors are a 2-piece rotor. They're you know, like some kind of iron friction ring with an alloy center hat, and they also have a alloy hat for the rear that can contain the rear drum parking brake, which is really cool. Now the alloy center removes about 3 pounds of unsprung weight from each corner, and the front it's actually a little more than that, and that actually helps ride and everything. And the rotors also float a little bit, which helps the performance. Like if you do a track day or you're driving in the mountains, the floating rotor enables the rotor to expand and stay straight. Like your conventional rotor that's one piece will kind of distort like a cone as it heats up, so the pads don't bite evenly. But a floating rotor will just grow in diameter and not do that, so the braking surface stays parallel and everything. And sometimes floating rotors are noisy, but the FIGS rotors don't make that ringing noise like a lot of other floating rotors do. They stay nice and quiet. Also, the iron alloy that FIGS uses is pretty fantastic. I think my current set of rotors have like 120 or 130,000 miles on them, and they're still good. That's a big jump from the stock rotors lasting 10,000 miles. I'm also running the FIGS pads. Now these aren't race pads, but they're kind of high performance street, maybe mild track day pads. So they seem to not fade in the kind of driving I do. If I was to go on the track, maybe I'd run something else, but then they can handle anything like mountain roads, spirited driving, driving on the track while kind of taking it easy and not like competing level. They also make very little dust, and the dust they do make washes off easy, and it's not as corrosive. I mean, literally, even with washing the wheels once a week, the stock Toyota wheel finish was getting etched up and ruined in like about 25,000 miles. That's how gnarly the brake dust was. I think any of you that have had an ISF from new know exactly what I'm talking about. And those stock wheels are hard to clean too, with that kind of snowflake pattern. It was really irritating. But let me tell you, the FIGS rotors and brake pads really transformed that part of your ownership experience too. So not all ISFs had limited slips from the factory. A lot of them had like that fake electronic LSD stuff, which kind of sucks. And the ones that did have limited slips had a gear type limited slip, which I feel like I don't particularly like on higher powered, high torque cars like the ISF. If you're like a regular pedestrian driver, it's smooth, quiet, and kind of unobtrusive, but it's not very positive. And if one wheel starts to run away, like if you hit a FIA curb or it just starts to spin, it starts acting like a regular differential instead of a limited slip. So for our ISF, we opted to put in an OS Geekin clutch type limited slip. It's always been my opinion that this is one of the most advanced limited slip differentials that are easily available, and it's the most tunable. It can be tuned for the slope of the lock percentage. It can be tuned for the overall lock, the initial breakaway lock, and other factors too, cam shape and things like that. If you really want to know about all the features of the OS Geekin, check out the video I did on how to tune it. So we're using an OS Geekin, really good diff. We installed it. The ISF is a bit of a bitch to install a diff in. First thing is the diff doesn't really fit in the case unless, when you're trying to maneuver it, it's kind of wide and it doesn't want to go in. So we had to grind the flange to make enough clearance to get the end of it in there. It's not a big deal, but it's a minor hassle, so get ready to do it. The other thing is the side bearings are held in by these crazy circlips. These are big and thick, and your normal circlip pliers don't have a chance of getting them out. So we had to buy these crazy heavy duty super positive circlip removers to get it out, and you need to get it out while you're setting your backlash and everything. So when you're shimming all that, you got to take it in and out a bunch of times. You really got to get that tool. So it's not something that's easy for the guy to do at home. It wasn't exactly easy for us to do here with all the right tools. Kind of a bitch, but it's in. As you can see here, we installed the Figs Engineering urethane bushings in the front of the differential too. So you have two front, two rear mounts. The whole differential rides in urethane. It's been my experience that it's a lot more responsive, less likely to get wheel hop, and you really can't feel much of an increase in NVH or anything like that. So it's a kind of a win-win, especially in an older car that the rubber bushings are getting tired. So we got our ISF all buttoned up. It's almost ready to go back together. This is a very nice ISF build and probably better than our own project car. So as you can see, we have all the Figs Engineering links. We have their front low compliance bushings. We have the adjustable upper arm. We have their two-piece brake rotors. We have the Varex exhaust. The Varex exhaust, I didn't really talk about it, but it's a really nice piece. It has these solenoid valves inside that work these flappers. The flappers can have the exhaust go straight through the muffler for low back pressure, or they could flip around so they do a reverse path through the mufflers to be really quiet. The exhaust system's made out of 304 stainless, all TIG welded. It has some resonators and it has an X-pipe. The X-pipe makes it sound awesome and helps low end torque a little bit. We found that good exhausts on these cars are good for about anywhere from 15 to 20 wheel horsepower. So catbacks do really good on the ISF, and we expect about the same on this car. Plus we have the variable sound output, quiet or low back pressure, which is really cool. Another thing we have that I didn't really talk about yet is the Sikky carbon fiber drive shaft. Now this is a lightweight carbon fiber drive shaft. The lightweight gives you a little bit better throttle response, but what I like the best about carbon drive shafts is they're stiff, but they absorb shock. So they're stiff, so they're less likely to cause any kind of vibration. Vibration can be really bad, especially at high speeds. It could destroy the whole drive shaft and your differential bearings and even the tail shaft of the transmission. But stiffness and lightweight reduces the amplitude of the vibrations if you have any. They also absorb drivetrain shock, so you know when you get on it, the shock load is less on the transmission and the rear end. If you get wheel hop or something, they also serve to cushion the drivetrain. Finally, if you have a failure, they'll break into a bunch of little fibers instead of having like a pole vault rod that can flip your car. So they're safer also. If they do fail, you have a bunch of like broom fibers flailing around underneath your car instead of a potential steel shaft that can go through the floor and hurt you too. So they're safer, they perform better, and they give you a little bit better throttle response. So it's a good addition. You know, it's a nice thing that, shoot, I didn't even think of, but thanks to Sikky, you can get an awesome drive shaft on these cars. So that covers our ISF suspension upgrade guide. This makes a pretty wonderful car even better. And if you have an ISF, once you do this stuff, you probably, if you're eyeing other performance sedans, you probably won't even want to sell it after driving different ones. It's a Lexus, it goes forever. I mean, ours has never had a single problem. It's probably one of the most reliable cars I've ever owned. So Figs Engineering, Sikky, and KW can help you with your ISF. Also, if you have IS from this era, all the stuff I showed here works on that too. So it's not just all about the ISF. So if you like this content, please help us out and subscribe, give us some likes, and we also have memberships now. So you can see, become a member, help support us, give us some money to make some better content, and you have benefits. It's all explained on the membership link on the screen. So become a member, help us out, and I'll talk to you next time.